Give me a little music bed there. All right, everybody, there we go. See, today we are doing our Yajaga podcast, our weekly podcast from Sherman. Wait, say it again.
Sherwood
Sherwood.
Oaks.
I don't know why I would say it. Yes, Sherwood Oaks up in Cranberry, a UPMC senior, part of the UPMC senior communities. And as you know, every week we kick off with a little bit of music, and we have some nostalgic music today. Once they get done, the two good doctors, we will talk to them later in the podcast. We have Doug Oster here. But first, we're going to get a little music while you go get your English muffin, your donut, your coffee, or whatever, and we'll come back and do the podcast. So take it, guys.
I'm on the sloop, John B. Grandfather and me. Around Nassau town we did roam. Drinking all night. Got into a fight. Well, so broke up. I wanna go home. So hoist up the John B. sails. See how the mainsail sets. Call for the captain ashore. Let me go home. I wanna go home. Oh, let me go home. Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel so broke up. I wanna go home. The first mate, he got drunk and broke in the captain's trunk. The constable had to come and take him away where it's on stone. Won't leave me alone. Well, I feel so broke up. I wanna go home. So hoist up the John B. sails. See how the mainsail sets. Call for the captain ashore. Let me go home. I wanna go home. Oh, let me go home. Well, I feel so broke up. I wanna go home. The poor cook, he caught the fits. Threw away all my grits. And then he took and he ate up all of my corn. Let me go home. Right over, let me go home. This is the worst trip I've ever been on. So hoist up the John B. sails. See how the mainsail sets. Shout for the captain ashore. Let me go home. Let me go home. I wanna go home. Well, I feel so broke up. I wanna go home. Well, I feel so broke up. I wanna go home.
Guys, Dr. Ed, Dr. John, right? Dan. Jeez, John, get it right. Rachel's not here and you're throwing everything to the ringer. Anyways, thank you guys. First of all, it was everything I could do to not sit here and try to harmonize like the Beach Boys did with that song, right?
Yeah,
that's that's good. Well, we are going to talk to you guys a little bit later in the podcast, and you're going to come back and sing again. But again, this is how we start the podcast every week. We say, this is behind the scenes. This is what you're watching. And then we read this ad. Our blog spotlights important things like our Rourke Advantage, our customer service, and our outstanding ratings. Did you know that Rourke Honda received a plethora of cars after the Pittsburgh Auto Show? That means more in-demand vehicles for customers to purchase now and not have to wait. Visit our Bloomfield location or RourkeHonda.com for all of your vehicle needs. And this is where on the podcast you'll hear all these people say, you jag off, you jag off, you jag off. And then we say, it's John and Rachel from the You Jag Off podcast. Rachel's not here today. She's on a leave of absence. I don't know how we get those kind of things. I saw, Monica, did you see any kind of form come across your desk? No, I certainly didn't. But anyways, you're stuck with me today. And this is where we ask you, if you're listening to the podcast for the very first time, One, we appreciate you subscribing to it. Two, we appreciate if you're over on iTunes leaving a nice comment, because we'd like to show our parents what nice things people have to say. And like my college education was worth all of this, that's for sure. So this is also where we talk about what was on the blog. You know, we have the blog, yajagoff.com. It started off pointing out Pittsburghers who are trying to embarrass the rest of us Pittsburghers and just not being nice people. So we always talk about the phrase "yajagoff" as a term of endearment. I see you in the airport. I say, "Oh my God, that's a great Lynn Swan shirt you have tucked into your jeans. How have you been, yajagoff?" Right? So, but we also know there's a negative connotation, and it's like so. On the blog this week, we had a car that was parked in the woods above a tunnel in Stowe Township. Don't know how it got there, but it certainly was. You know, we always put pictures of people who don't know how to park properly. That was a good one. And then we had our own personal blog this week about the worst cooler we've ever bought in our lives. It is actually a Yeti cooler. It was $230. But you'll have to go read the blog, because it was frustrating, the fact that the strap doesn't even go over your shoulder. Like the good Coleman coolers and the coolers you buy at Foodland and Giant Eagle, those styrofoam ones are just as good as anything else. And we announced again that we have the Yajagoff coffee made by O'Neill Coffee up there in Mercer County, West Middlesex. It is really, I don't drink coffee, but Rachel loves it. It's a dark ground roast. And it is now for sale at Mancini's Bakery in McKees Roxton, the Strip District, and the Love Pittsburgh stores, as well as on yajagoff.com. One last Jagoff we posted, and this was the term of endearment kind, is that we watched the Pens and the Dallas Stars play the other night, and there was a guy in a Penguin jersey right behind the Dallas Stars bench, and he knew he was getting on TV, because they always show the other team's bench. And he's standing there on his phone waving like this. You could tell he was talking to the Yinzers back here in Pittsburgh, just saying, look at me, I'm here right behind the bench. So we gave him a shout out. Since he wanted to be seen by the whole world on the hockey game, we said, let's give that guy a shout out. So we have a picture of him standing there waving while he's talking on the phone. Yeah. Of course, probably blocking the view of those behind him, but that's okay. He's not a Jagoff. He's a Yinzer that we love. All right. So here we are. And John and Roberta, you guys were kind enough to invite us here to this community here. And when Monica and I rolled up on this place, we're like, okay, this is where we're going. And we need to start figure out where you take an application, because we need to do that here. So tell us a little bit about where we are today and what you guys do that's so different here as far as retirement planning, retirement in healthcare.
Well, Sherwood Oaks is unique in that it is a CCRC, and that's a continuing care retirement community, which means once you're here, you begin your life here, and you can stay here, and you can have the benefits of not only being independent, but if you ever need any personal care or skilled or memory care needs, it's all right here on this campus. But what's really unique about this is this campus, when it started as a resident-driven community, and it remains a resident-driven community. And there are over 40 committees here that are run by residents. We have anywhere from trips and tours to gift shop to volunteer groups, and everybody's active in this community. And it really makes it unique in that way, that we see the awe-inspiring way that everybody really defies ageism in this place, because we don't look and see each other here as numbers in ages, but we see the person and what they do. And even, there are times everybody maybe is laid up with something and they're not well, they get right back up on their feet and they continue right where they left off. We've got musicians, we've got painters, we've got woodworkers, we've got so many folks that even can continue into adapting their skills and their gifts, even if they're in personal care or skill or memory care. So that's fairly unique.
John, explain a little bit about the CCRC. And maybe I can sum it up in my terms and you correct me, as Rachel would do if she was here. But because that's kind of the game we play. But the CCRC is the fact that it's everything until the end of life, in that when you come here, I always joke it's like the Hotel California. You're not getting out of here, but you don't want to get out of here because this is a very, very active place, right? And but when you make the decision to come here, you've made your healthcare decisions for the rest of your life, which are good. And in the meantime, you've also taken those very difficult decisions off of your kids and your other family members, right?
Yes. I mean, CCRC is kind of the one-stop shop for everything.
Ideally, people will move in here when they're independent, and as time goes on, they'll need extra care. So we have personal care services here, memory support, a nursing, skilled nursing center here. And it's really convenient for everybody. And I have heard that before when families bring their loved ones here, they have kind of a peace of mind that they know that they're going to be taken care of. They have everything they need. They have all the resources. And so it's really a blessing for everybody involved.
It seems that when the adult or the older adults, those making the decision to move here, they're making that decision and telling their kids, you guys don't have to fight about anything at this point because we've made it all for you, right, Roberta?
Sure. And another unique thing about Sherwood Oaks, everybody here really tries to work to keep everybody's independence. And that's what I've noticed here that's so beautiful because that's what everybody wants. You know, you want to be able to be on your own as much as possible, but still have support. And that really brings a person-centeredness into our community, which is really important.
Those listening, I can tell you that, going through this personally is that, I wish I would have known this back then because I am the decision maker for what happened with my parents. And we moved them twice. We moved them in their late 80s because we did not take into the fact that we thought they were in a good place, but we didn't really consider the whole skilled nursing side of it. Because as we do age, our needs increase. And probably our two singing physicians will even talk about that, when we talk to them. But the fact is that so you don't want to have to move. If you're the person influencing your grandparents or your parents into these decisions, you need to see a place like this because when you think down the line, you don't want to be like me where I had to move my parents in their late 80s. That just was because now they're getting into a community they don't know anybody. However, if they come here while they're in the condos, the apartments, as you said, John, they're getting to they're growing with everybody in the community. They know everybody by the time they're getting that age.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and as they move through the continuum, they have familiar faces. They know everybody. It's all familiar to them, and it's easier.
Now, one quick question: if someone does come here, they don't have to give up their primary care physician, right? There is somebody here if they need that, but they don't have to give up that, and they don't. I want to make it very clear: you don't give up your freedom. It's almost like you have more freedom because they don't have to clean, they don't have to do the lawn anymore.
And the amenities here are amazing because one unique thing about Sherwood Oaks is we have a complete fitness center. In the lower level, which involves workout rooms, exercise machines, personal training experience with our staff here that's designated just to fitness. And recently they installed an indoor pickleball court. So there's plenty of things for everybody to keep busy and compete with, and that's amazing.
It's like a cruise ship, right?
Yes,
here in Cranberry.
it is.
Right?
It is.
And the food is also good. Speaking of a cruise, our dining staff is really second to none here. The food is always awesome, and there's always some wonderful event that everybody's working on together in the campus. So, I think you're right. We could call it that.
Yeah, this is Cranberry's best kept secret, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just like. I lost my train of thought there. Go ahead.
No, I think the other thing is that when we say Cranberry, Yinzers do not cross two bridges to go anywhere, right?
Oh,
you know that, right? So if you're from the South, you go, oh my God, Cranberry, that's Europe. It's not. It's so easy to get to as well. Like, you come off right off 79 and you're basically here pretty quickly. So, and I understand that if you are typically living in Mount Lebanon or Upper St. Clair, you don't know the folks up here, but it's actually, you get to know the folks up here because this is a very unique community for these people this age.
And there's a great transportation support here. So you mentioned access here. You can go to Walmart, you can go to eat. If you don't drive, there's still a way to be able to get to where you want to go, church, wherever it might be in your local area that you're used to doing. So,
And you can even still go downtown to the
Absolutely.
symphony and activities
And
downtown. If
there's
you have your
a lot of
season
trips,
tickets, you
yes.
can now be chauffeured down there, right? As far as if
oh
you
yes,
wanted
there's
to.
a trips and tours,
Yeah.
and one of our buses will, arrange that, and our committee will organize that. There's a sign up, whether it's dinner or the symphony, and they'll go down and have a night out. So, yeah.
So yeah, go
I
ahead.
was
John.
going to say, and because Sherwood Oaks is affiliated with UPMC Senior Communities, these residents have the resources. They have a link to those resources if needed. So that's very convenient too.
Yeah, that's
Right,
yeah,
it is.
exactly.
That's a
Yeah, that's
plus.
crazy. Well,
Sure is.
where does everybody find out more? Because I will say this: if you're listening to the podcast, and say this part doesn't pertain to me. It does. If you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, somewhere along the way, someone in your family is making this decision, and you could be an influencer in that decision. If you can help make their life easier, their life better, and your life easier by this is why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, right. Well, if you want to know more about Sherwood Oaks, you can go. We have two resources actually. The website, which is www.sherwood-oaks.com.
.com, okay.
And then we also have our Facebook page, which is at Sherwood Oaks UPMC, which does show a lot of the things that go on our campus.
It's a
here.
very
So-
lively Facebook page.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you don't think
Yes.
you're getting on there to watch everybody
Right.
just sit around playing bingo
Yeah.
5 days
No,
a week.
not at all.
This is far
exactly,
more than that.
exactly. So,
Well,
yes.
John and Roberta, we appreciate you guys
Thank
coming
you
on the
so
podcast
much.
with
Right.
us.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Appreciate
having
you
us.
coming
Yeah,
here.
we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. And you guys don't have to play, but because for our edit, we'll say there's music coming up again from the Singing Doctors, and our next guest is our favorite Pittsburgh personality, Doug Oster. Cool. There you go.
All right.
We do just,
So you guys can,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, you just put the mics down. And we'll just edit in part of your song so you guys don't have to play the whole time. If you want to play, that's cool, but we try not to force the musicians to work too hard. All right.
Gonna make me work hard?
Coming in from music, Doug Oster. Listen, it's been a while since we've had you on the podcast, and I noticed that Rachel has run away from this particular episode, knowing that you probably are going to ask her about some plants that she's killing.
Oh, definitely. I was going to definitely investigate what's going on with her garden. But
Yeah.
first off, the music is awesome.
How about that?
You
huh?
say Beach Boys, I say Kingston Trio. So
Oh,
I guess
okay.
I'm showing my age. But
It's actually older than that.
Yeah. and what year? Well, actually, what year is that from?
1900.
That's from 19. That song is from the
1900. That's when I was a
1900s.
senior.
Yeah.
I think
Well-
it was called the John B. Sale.
The John B.
John B.
Sale?
Sale.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I all I wanted to do was the Beach Boys jump in
Well, I
there.
got to
but-
hear the sound check, man, and it was awesome. Got
Yeah.
some Everly Brothers in there. I was digging it. It's
Oh,
good stuff.
nice. So you're signing up to come here, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But now, before we get into what I'm about to admit to about killing a plant, we did talk to you. You did talk to Roberta earlier about what kind of things are up here as far as that. I don't think you had a chance to look at that.
No,
but-
I did.
Oh, you did?
I actually
Okay.
looked at the whole map, and I can't believe it.
Really?
In 2000, I think it's 2000, the landscape committee started planting trees around here, and the trees that they've chosen are unique and spectacular. Like if you lived here and you could walk around and see some of these trees, I mean, it's a true arboretum.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow,
it's amazing.
okay.
I was just looking through the whole list here, and, looking at the map. I'm coming back to explore.
That is super cool. Well, that's even better to know. So, Doug, we want to talk about container plants. Is that right?
No, definitely. When you're thinking about seniors or people that either can't or don't want to garden out in the actual garden anymore, you can grow anything that you did out in that garden in a container. It's just about choosing the right size container for the right plant. In the case of a tomato, you want like 15 gallons.
Really?
Or people try and grow them in a 5-gallon pot. It's just by the time the tomato, starts to get into that June growth spurt, the roots get so big in there that you can't even keep it watered. So always when I'm talking containers, bigger is better because you need less water. containers right now during the spring and into May. Oh, great idea. It's raining all the time. Containers in July. What a terrible idea. I got to water this thing every day. And so, again, it's about choosing the right size container for the right plant. And, to grow corn, that would be really tough.
Yeah.
But to grow lettuce, spinach, Swiss chard, herbs, stuff like that, you could have a regular, 5-gallon, 10-gallon container. Put it in spot. You fill it up with what we call a planting mix, which you get at the nursery. One trick about containers, you get that planting mix wet first before you put it in the container. And you get it moist, because if you just put dry mix in, it doesn't take the water the right way.
Oh, really?
That's a great trick. And you fill up that container, you put those plants in. As long as you keep them watered and fertilized, they're gonna thrive. And the trick about the containers is that you are providing the water and the fertilizer. And as long as you do, all those plants are going to go crazy, and you're probably going to have better luck than out in a garden, depending on what your garden looks like. In my case, it's 25 years of adding compost. It's easy.
Yeah.
But if you just have hard pan, my mother had hard pan, and I worked 3 years to work that soil up by adding compost every year. And at the third year, she goes, I think I'm going to go to containers. And so whoever lives there now has the best looking lawn where that garden was. And so containers are an easy choice for people. And even in my situation, where I've got a 30 by 40 vegetable garden, I probably have 50 containers, because I'm always trying to squeeze other things in there. And an easy way for containers, especially for seniors, are these fabric pots. There's they're lightweight. They have handles on them. The one I really love, it's called Root Pouch. It's made out of recycled water bottles, and it's I had just came off the Home and Garden Show. I had 59 of those root pouches, 10-gallon root pouches filled with plants. And then at the last day, I told people, I'm not taking these out of here. And they're like, what? And boom, off. They were able to take that pot. It's that lightweight. Take that pot home with them. And in the case of these, at the end of the season, if you wanted to, you could just dump the soil out and it stores flat. So lightweight, they're big enough where they're not going to dry out too quick, and just easy. Like in my case, I'll start off with whatever it might be in there that loves sun. Halfway through the summer, as the tomatoes grow over it, I can move those containers down to better sun easily. Where if you had a big ceramic container, you're never moving that thing.
Yeah, right.
You're never moving that thing. It takes an act of Congress to move something like that.
Now, when you say container plants, we're talking about ones that stay in containers all year long, or until, for a vegetable till it's done. Or you're also talking about starting plants in containers, right, and then moving them, right? You could.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing we're doing right now is we're starting seeds indoors. The reason we start seeds indoors is it's something that's going to take all season. You want to get a jump on it, like a tomato or a pepper, something like that. That we get it started as a little seedling, and we put it in the ground in May. It has enough time to come to fruition, but also, this is the way we can grow things that are unique. When we first start gardening, like Rachel, we're just happy when we don't kill something. Then after that, it's like, okay, I can keep it alive. Now I want to grow something different. And then thirdly, there's a certain satisfaction to starting that little seed and seeing it come to fruition by the end of the season. And so the only thing you need to know about if you're starting seeds indoors is you need a strong light source. Nowadays, that's LED. Cheap to run, cheap to buy. Every nursery's going to have it. Anyone can get a seed to sprout. All you need is...
So it doesn't have to be sunlight. It can be light.
It's LEDs. That's the mistake people make. Get this call all the time on the Sunday morning radio show. I started my seeds. They sprouted really good on the windowsill, but then they got tall and spindly and fell over. I have a brown thumb. There's no such thing as a brown thumb. You put those seedlings under bright light, you got a nice stocky seedling that, again, and part of it is the bragging. When someone comes to your garden, you have this big tomato plant, you just say, I started it from seed.
Yeah. We have to remind everybody that Doug has a radio show. He has a TV show that we'll talk about at the end of the program here, but also that Rachel doesn't have a brown thumb. She has a death thumb. She has right. Yeah. But we're trying to encourage her to do
It's not true, and I know
things.
she's done better.
Yeah.
And you've got a plant story. We talked about this.
Right. That's what I was going to bring up is that so I had to move my mom, and so she said, please don't let my plant die. And I don't know what it is. I'll take a picture of it because I'm sure it's some kind of thing you'll know right from seeing the leaves. But the fact is, when I went to move it, because I hadn't watered it in 2 weeks, the leaves literally fell off like a piece of peanut brittle. So I thought, my mom is about to kill me here.
You're going to be in trouble.
So, right. So first thing I did was move it to a window where there was sunlight. And the second thing I did was water it. It seems like it's resuscitating. It's perking up. But I'm in panic. But one thing you told me is don't overwater it. That'll kill it faster than not watering.
Yeah, neglect is one thing. When a plant is chosen to be sold as a house plant, it's tough as nails. That's what they're doing. And it can take neglect. But you overwater it, we say that most of them are killed by kindness. And we've talked to Rachel about it too. You overwater, over-fertilize, you're going to kill that plant a lot sooner than neglect. So any house plant, in this case with yours, just stick your finger as far as you can down in that soil. If it's still moist, no water. If you can't get any moisture out of there, give it a little bit of water, and you'll be fine.
And being like I want to, because I don't need this thing to die, because I won't have another podcast to be at because my mom will literally kill me if I kill the plant. But the fact is that should I be looking at other things like Miracle Grow or things that are organic to throw in there to kind of help resuscitate it, or is it just light water it?
So we start fertilization on house plants right about now as the days get longer.
Okay.
During the winter, there's not a long enough day for the plant to use the nutrients. And the downside on downside on a Miracle Grow is that there are salts in it. Salts are a negative for the plant. Salts are a negative for anything that's in that soil, from microbes all the way up to an earthworm, depending on where you're growing it. We don't want anything in there that's a negative. And so you can go to the nursery or any place that sells fertilizers and find one that's like either fish-based or kelp-based. And I like to say when you do apply them, it smells like low tide, but not for long. When I fertilize my indoor plants, it's like, I'm going to see my mom. I'm like, okay, time to fertilize. When she comes back, did you? I said, I did.
Yeah. That's not something I'd even realized about fertilizing as far as the timing of the light. I didn't realize.
Yeah,
that
longer
at all,
days are better, and this is the time. And then houseplants, they need a little help now too. They'll get dusty, and then they can't do what they want to do. They can't do photosynthesis. One big advantage of houseplants is that they clean the air. Not just provide oxygen, they're cleaning lots of stuff. There's a great study from NASA where they took the plants up into space and realized that they're cleaning all these things out of the air. Yeah, it's the best thing. Whenever my wife complains about all the plants on the table, I'm like, it's cleaning the air for the grandkids. All right.
Well, here's my John's dumb question then. Is there any kind of calculation out there, since NASA's involved, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there like a one plant per square foot kind of, as far as how to clean the air? Is there a theory on that?
Yes, but I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
I just put the plants there and I grow them.
I didn't know that. I had no idea that. I just thought they were, they're decorative and they give you something to do, somebody to talk to if you live alone.
It's phenomenal. And houseplants now, like when I was growing up in the 1970s, houseplants were a big deal. Now it's come back again, where every nursery is going to have houseplants, and now it's not just green. Like there's all these beautiful colors and flowers, and one that I really tell people they should grow is African violet. African violets have gone.
That was my mom's favorite.
Exactly,
flower.
They've gone out of favor, and plants, it is like fashion, where they come and go. But African violets, when you know how to take care of them, which just means basically we water from the bottom, let them soak up the water. When they do bloom, they bloom for a long, long time. It could be 6 months. And nowadays, there are all these different cool varieties. They're easy to take care of, beautiful flowers, and again, something that I love. That I hate when something that's that easy to take care of goes out of favor. But this is what happens. Things come and go, and but there are a lot of really cool, colorful houseplants now, and it's become again a big deal where people want houseplants and enjoy them. No more macrame spider plant hangers, but
oh my God,
at least in normal people's house. In my house, I have them.
Doug, you do so many things with us, and we appreciate the fact that you do this. Just and bring us tips. It's like our plant therapy when you come on. If people want to go, like this place we talked about the trees here, if people in Western Pennsylvania want to go see things and enjoy things that are indigenous or just good plants, I know we did something at the aviary where they just, where would you suggest people go?
Well, first off, like right now, I just went to Phipps for the Spring Flower Show. It's spectacular. And spend your time, when you go to Phipps, go outside, not just inside. There are all these outdoor gardens that are phenomenal that people usually don't get to. Secondly, is a place that is kind of flown under the radar is the Pittsburgh Botanic Garden.
Crazy, right? We did
Really
a podcast
cool.
from there.
Really
Yeah.
cool. It's halfway from the city to the airport. And believe it or not, there's an arboretum at Chatham. Chatham University has an arboretum.
How about that?
Right. And it's so much fun. You know, when you go to like the Phipps for a Spring Flower Show, man, it will just invigorate you. I mean, it's such a beautifully designed show, and that's what I did the interview for. Is my friend Jordan Molino. She does most of the exhibits there, and for 14 years she's been building these where you have these combination of plants. I'm getting ideas for my garden. You know, there were some daffodils in there that I hadn't seen before that I'm like jotting down, like, oh my gosh, I'm a daffodil fanatic. That's one of my many obsessions in daffodils. But this little itty bitty one that has double flowers. There's another one called geranium that has this intense fragrance. You will learn a lot that you could take to your garden from both those places, from Phipps and the Pittsburgh Botanic Garden. But of the two, Pittsburgh Botanic Garden is it's flying under the radar, and they're continue to build that. Now they've got Celebration Garden, Hillside Pollinator Garden, this cool place for kids, Garden of Five Senses, long trails where you can walk, a beautiful welcome center. It's just another great place. You can't forget the aviary. Aviary is just is an awesome place, you know.
The in the Washington County place for daffodils.
If you have any
This
interest
is a let me just say this, let me prep that. I lived in Western Pennsylvania my entire life, never knew this place existed. Doug says, just find this place. We had to GPS it because it's literally on the side of the road in Washington County.
I begged them to do a podcast
And it was
from there.
incredible.
It's called Joe Ham's Daffodil Collection. It is the greatest collection of blooming daffodils I've ever seen in my life. Joe lost his legs to a medical condition years ago, but it has not stopped him from this obsession, and he has two helpers. He has his sister and a woman who lives down the road, and they call themselves the Field Sisters. And they make sure that everything that's coming up is what it's supposed to be. It's acres of daffodils, and my favorite story from there is there was a named variety from the 40s called Spencer Tracy. It's for a famous actor. But the Field Sisters told Joe there's no Katharine Hepburn. So when a daffodil came up, we call it a sport. It is a naturally occurring mutation. So it's not a named variety. He saw this sport, and he got it registered and named it Katharine Hepburn. Spencer Tracy blooms here. Katharine Hepburn blooms a couple beds away. They are together forever. And that's just one of the stories. When you go down there, you will leave with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. It's free, absolutely free to go see those daffodils. Joe started by planting everything he could find from 1937, which was the year he was born, and then expanded from there. And most of what is blooming there is no longer available in commercial catalogs. And you know, a lot of the people that I work with, younger people, they're having kids, you know, that are 2 or 3 years old now, and we go down there for pictures.
Yeah.
You know, you go down there, and I've got grandkids now, 6 months and 2 years old, and we're going to go down there for pictures. It's a magical place.
It really is.
That is definitely should be on your map of a place to go down and see. And I go down 3 times a year, and it's northern Washington County. So when you get off, it's like the first Washington exit, and it's easy to get to. Well, once you find it, it's easy to get to.
It's literally right there on the side of the road.
God.
It's such an incredible little place.
I can't wait to see it again this year.
gem.
And Joe actually sells some of his bulbs, a few of them, the rare bulbs, at the end of the season. And I always order from him because that's what perpetuates the garden. And I love growing these, something that's rare. And again, I'm the only one that sees it that knows it's rare. But they're beautiful and unique, and you'll see daffodils. There's 14, I think, different divisions of daffodils. It's not all yellow trumpets. So you're going to see every different type of daffodil, and many of them that I've never seen before. And that's somebody who is obsessed with daffodils since I was 7 years old. 1967, I saw this place called Daffodil Hill. It's where my grandparents are buried in Cleveland, Lakeview Cemetery. And I was profoundly affected. And I didn't, of course, at 7 years old, didn't know they were daffodils. But my mother always talked about Daffodil Hill. And I'm building, for the last 25 years, my own Daffodil Hill in memory of my grandparents.
Wow.
So I'm obsessed with daffodils. I should have brought a bouquet, actually.
Yeah, right. Doug, can't tell you how much we appreciate when you come in. You did our Christmas parade. You do all these crazy things with us. Where you have a TV show, you have a radio show. Tell everybody where they find you.
Just
all over the place.
go to DougOster.com. All the information about the radio show, the upcoming second season of my television show, sponsored by Davey Tree. You can find it all there. And most importantly, that's a place where you can ask your garden questions. I feel that's part of my job. Anybody who asks a question, I always answer. If you don't get an answer, resend that question. I didn't see it or I missed it. I feel that's an important part of what I do. I want to help people. I want to help people garden. This is not rocket science. No one has a brown thumb. And as you can see from what you're going to do with that houseplant,
Yes.
and what Rachel has done over the last 2
Yes.
years, she's getting it's no longer black, it's no longer brown. It might be tan, but we're going to get it to be green.
That's right. Now, we have a question of the day, which we forgot to ask John and Roberta. So,
I
question
always like to hear the question of the day first because usually they
Duh,
stop me.
you're the guinea pig right now. So, question of the day is: Spring has sprung. What do you spring for spring?
What do I spring for spring?
When spring hits, you're like, I can't. This may be an easy question for you, given that it's plant related, but
I guess I have to go back to daffodils.
okay.
For me, when daffodils bloom, there's no turning back. It's the official spring.
Gotcha.
And once those begin, there's no stopping us now.
Yeah.
So it's all about daffodils
Nice.
for me.
Doug Oster, always a pleasure. Rachel will be sad that she missed you. And we're certainly glad you're. And go check out the trees while you're here, dude. I can't wait to see if you come up with some videos up here. That'd be cool.
It's awesome.
It'd be cool to know that we turned Doug Oster onto something.
Yeah,
right?
that is cool. That's a first.
Right.
Plant-wise, anyway.
That's right. We're going to come back and talk to the singing doctors next. Cool. Nice job.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
That was
it.
awesome. John and Roberta, are you guys still around? Come on over here for a second. We forgot to ask you the question of the day.
Plants and stuff like that. I grew up in South Florida right now.
Hey, you guys can share the microphone because we'll just edit it in there. So this is John and Roberta. In case you just tuned in, I forgot to ask them the question of the day. So, John, Roberta,
Yes.
spring has sprung. What do you spring for when spring springs?
John, you want to take that first?
I guess just working in the yard. I mean,
Yeah?
it's landscaping season, and
Okay.
it's time for some new mulch, and
Nice.
that's just what I'm going to be doing
All
in the
right.
next month or so.
All right, Roberta.
Well, mine does not involve that kind of work. It involves actually getting ready to get biking ready.
Oh, okay.
We do a lot of biking around the city, the
Okay.
river, and go to the strip quite frequently. So summer and spring, that's when we start getting ready for
Bicycling
that.
with it. Nice.
And we like that.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
That on my bucket list, I think.
There you
yeah.
go. There you go. Very cool. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Now we get to talk to the good doctors. Thank you, Doug. We'll give you guys these microphones for now, just to chat.
All right.
There you go.
That one's wrapped around that stand.
All right. Oh, there you go. As a matter of fact, I'll move over here. Did you get enough pictures of Doug? All right, cool. All right, cool. Dr. Ed and Dr. Dan, right?
Yes.
All right, so coming in from music. Dr. Ed and Dr. Dan, we were trying not to sing along with you as you were singing our song to open up the podcast here, and because we didn't want to ruin your melodic thing you were into there. But first of all, you guys are residents here at the Sherwood. Is that or no? No, you're not. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. You just like hanging out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not
All
there
right.
yet, yeah.
I did not realize that. So, tell me how you guys got together as far as being a singing duo.
Go ahead. Okay. This is kind of wild. We work at the VA. We're both VA docs. So Dan was in my office consulting on a case
Okay.
that we had both seen this gentleman, and my phone rang, and I have that little guitar strum kind of thing.
Okay,
in there.
yeah.
And he thought it was his phone because he uses the same thing, which led us to talking about, do you play guitar? Oh, yeah, I play. How long have you been playing? All of that. Within 2 or 3 days, we brought our guitars to work and spent our lunch break playing, and then we decided to get together and, do some more and learn some songs and stuff. And to make things even odder, we found out that he lives about 8 houses down the street from me.
No kidding. Now that's totally a Pittsburgh thing. We always talk about Kevin Bacon being, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but Pittsburgh's 3 degrees or 2 degrees of anything here. So you both do work at the VA, which is pretty nice and pretty cool that you do that. What's that like these days? I mean, there's so much going on as far as the mental health and the physical health, and the veterans. It seemed like we all understood the veterans of the World War and the Korean War, and Vietnam was a little confusing. But now the veterans are coming back with something completely different because of all the new weapons and the mental anguish, right? How is that going?
I'm actually a combat vet. I served 11 years. I was an Army doc, and this is actually kind of my retirement job. I was in practice in Sewickley for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
But I always felt like, how can you take care of veterans if you're not one?
Yeah.
In my own mind. I had a lot of veterans in my practice. So actually, I don't think it's a whole lot different.
Is that right?
From what we put these people through, having been there myself. But there are some differences. Technology has changed the battlefield. There's a lot more push-button things. You don't have these big invasions like you did in World War II. As it was told to me, it's more like brush fires. You have these small incidences, and you're not fighting conventional armies. You're fighting terrorists, if you want. These people don't follow, quote, rules, and so that has a lot of effect because our guys are trained a certain way, how to engage in battle and so forth, and those guys don't. So it's often difficult for them coming back, having dealt with what they did. And so we see a lot of that. And I think from my standpoint, despite what I do, I run a non-surgical orthopedic clinic, but I sometimes spend time talking with these guys just about what it's like coming back home and getting back into the world, as we call it. And I think there's a lot more comfort for them knowing I've been there and can understand their side of it.
And Dr. Ed, any further comment on that?
Well, one thing I think is that the mental health
You're the
service
mental health side of this equation, right?
I'm a neuropsychologist.
Yeah.
So I'm actually a PhD, not an MD.
Oh, right.
But the mental health services have expanded so much, and I've been with the VA 25 years now, and I think we probably have 3 times the staff at least devoted to mental health kinds of work.
Okay.
A lot of psychologists and stuff. So,
And the music was therapy for both of you, but then you're seeing the outwardly facing music as therapy for your patients, I would assume is right, and as well as just folks like here, right?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
I think we were just talking about that coming over here. He could probably explain the neuro side of it better than I do, but it's always been a relaxing thing for me. Playing for the folks here, I think it brightens their day. You can actually see them perk up as we play, and even if they don't necessarily know the songs we play, they're always happy to tap along or try to sing along. So.
Yeah.
and this is either our 4th or 5th time playing here. I think.
Something like that.
We've done it a few times.
Is that right?
5, is that what you say?
Okay, there you go. Well, we appreciate that you guys even do that, and let's talk about the song you played, and we've been hearing in between each of our guests. It's from the 1900s, is that right? So when Doug was on, he talked about knowing the Kingston Trio, is what he said, but I know it from the Beach Boys. I don't know if anybody's done it since then, but talk about the background of the song, 1900s.
Right. Well, actually, the sloop John Beats had several names. It's about a ship from the Bahamas, and it was a boat that carried cargo, animals, feed, and so forth. And the lyrics in the song relate to the crew. I guess when they used to go into port, they'd raise all kinds of nonsense. And And eventually it was
say
sunk.
drunken sailors?
Yeah, it's like drunken sailors. But eventually it was sunk off the coast of the Bahamas, and so it was written like again in 1900. I guess we were also talking that we like to point out we just don't do we do oldies, but not say this old, you know.
Yeah, right.
So,
Okay.
when we play. So.
Do you have a favorite song that you two, before you get off of a performance, and you're like, let's make sure we do this? Do you both have a favorite same favorite song, or no? Do you make sure you both cover each other's favorite song?
I think we just play what we like, and I mean,
Is that right?
I don't think there's any particular favorite. for
Okay,
me.
no
Yeah.
favorites.
My wife's got a couple. That she
Okay,
likes.
all right. You have to make sure, right? Happy wife, happy life, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, we appreciate you guys, and that you do this. You do this for the veterans. You do that for the folks here, and we appreciate you spend some time with us on the podcast here. You know, your green room it's probably a little nicer than some places, but not quite as good as maybe you've had in other venues. But we appreciate you being on the Jagoff podcast. Before we let you go, we have the question of the day, and it is: spring has sprung. So, what does spring cause you to spring to do? Baseball, planting, cleaning, anything? Each one of you.
That's the easy one. Resuming walking. My wife and I love to walk when the weather's
Okay.
decent, and we have been pretty lax on it since the
Yeah.
with the frost and everything. But we're looking forward to getting back.
Okay,
to that.
walking.
I do roller skiing. It's like cross country skiing, and I love the cross country ski in the winter. Of course, we had no snow this year.
Right.
But it's what the ski teams, particularly in Europe, use. It's not like roller skates. They're small, look like the same kind of cross country skis you see. The bindings are the same.
Okay.
The wheels are about an inch off the ground, and it works the same way. It's pretty cool. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys being on the podcast. We have to say thank you to Roberta and John. We have to say thank you, of course, to one of our favorite Pittsburgh planning friends, Doug Oster, for being on. Thank you to Tracy. And hey, Rach, what's up? Thanks to Monica in the background. We appreciate it. And will you guys take us out with a song here?
Okay.
All right.
Can I give you a word on this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this is a song about a ship that sank and didn't come home, and it was again at the turn of the century. But
1865.
right,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and so I'm from Boston originally, and in the 1940s. There was a problem with the MTA raising their rate, so a politician changed this and used it for his campaign, and it was called Did He Ever Return?
The MTA.
Charlie on the MTA, and it was done by the Kingston Trio.
Oh, is that right? Doug Oster, there you go.
Yeah.
Doug's still in the
so
audience.
we're going to
there.
use the words to that back then.
All
and-
right.
We're gonna do the 1865 version.
All right, sounds good. We'll take your mics. Thank you so much for joining us. And as they get ready to play, again, thank you to everybody that was on there. And of course, thank you to Rorick Honda. Our blog spotlights important things like our Rorick Advantage, our customer service, and our outstanding ratings. Did you know that Rorick Honda received a plethora of cars after the Pittsburgh Auto Show? That means more in-demand vehicles for customers to purchase now and no wait. Visit us at our Bloomfield location or at rorickhonda.com. All right, Docs, let's have it.
'Twas a summer's day, and the waves were rippled by a soft and gentle breeze. When the ship set sail with a cargo laden for a port beyond the seas, there were fond farewells, loving demonstrations by the ones who were most concerned. When they little knew 'twas the final voyage of the ship that never returned. But did she ever return? No, she never returned, and her fate is still unlearned. Though for years and years they were fond hearts watching for the ship that never returned. Said the feeble lad to his anxious mother, I must cross the deep blue sea. For they say perchance in some foreign climate there is help and strength for me. 'Twas a gleam of hope in the midst of danger, and her heart for youngest yearned. But she sent him forth with a smile and a blessing on the ship that never returned. But did she ever return? No, she never returned, and her fate is still unlearned. Though for years and years there were fond hearts watching for the ship that never returned. Take it in.
and a gallant sailor as he kissed his weeping wife. Only one more bag of gold and the treasure and will us through all our lives, and then we'll settle down in our cozy cottage, enjoy the rest we've earned. But alas, poor man, for he sailed commander on a ship that never returned. But did she ever return? No, she never returned, and his fate is still unknown.